Well, things were finally looking up for Dr. Dolittle. He was starting to make good money again, and his sister, Sarah, was so pleased she bought herself a brand new dress. The house was always bustling with animals. Some were so sick they needed to stay for a whole week to get better. Once they were on the mend, you'd find them all sitting out on the lawn in chairs, just enjoying the sunshine. Many of them loved the doctor and his cozy home so much that even after they were completely well, they just didn't want to leave. And the doctor, bless his heart, could never bring himself to say no. So his collection of pets just kept growing and growing. One evening, he was sitting on his garden wall, enjoying a pipe, when an Italian organ grinder came by with a little monkey on a string. The doctor saw right away that the monkey's collar was way too tight and the poor thing looked miserable and dirty. Without a second thought, he took the monkey, gave the man a shilling, and told him to be on his way. The organ grinder got furious, insisting the monkey was his. But Dr. Dolittle, though not very tall, was a strong man. He just told the fellow that if he didn't leave, he'd get a punch on the nose. Well, that did the trick. The man stomped off, muttering rude things, and the monkey, who the other animals named Chi-Chi, finally had a safe and happy home. Another time, the circus came to Puddleby. That night, a crocodile with a terrible toothache escaped and found its way into the doctor's garden. The doctor, speaking fluent crocodile language, of course, calmed him down, brought him inside, and fixed his tooth. But when the crocodile saw what an amazing house it was, with special spots for every kind of animal, he decided he wanted to stay too. He promised not to eat the fish if he could just live in the pond at the bottom of the garden. When the circus men came looking for him, he put on such a wild and savage display that they ran off terrified. But with everyone in the house, he was as gentle as a kitten. This new house guest, however, caused a bit of a stir. The old ladies in town got scared and stopped sending their precious lapdogs to be treated. Farmers were convinced the crocodile would eat their sick lambs and calves. The doctor's practice started to suffer. So he had a talk with the crocodile, explaining that he really had to go back to the circus. But the crocodile started crying these huge tears, begging and pleading to stay. The doctor, with his soft heart, just couldn't turn him away. That was the final straw for his sister, Sarah. She marched up to him and said, "John, that creature has to go. We were finally doing well again, and now everyone's too scared to come here. We're going to be ruined. I will not be your housekeeper anymore if you don't get rid of that alligator." "It isn't an alligator," the doctor corrected her. "It's a crocodile." "I don't care what you call it," she fired back. "It's a nasty thing to find under the bed. I won't have it in the house." The doctor tried to reason with her, but he promised he won't bite anyone. "He hates the circus, and I don't have the money to send him back to Africa. He's very well behaved, really. Don't be so fussy." But Sarah was not having it. "I will not have him around," she declared. "He eats the linoleum. If you don't send him away this instant, I'll go and get married." "All right," said the doctor calmly. "Go and get married. It can't be helped." And with that, he put on his hat and went out into the garden. So Sarah Dolittle packed her bags and left. The doctor was now all alone with his ever-growing animal family. Very soon he was poorer than ever before. With so many mouths to feed, a house to run, no one to do the mending, and no money coming in, things got very difficult. But the doctor didn't seem to worry one bit. Money is a nuisance, he'd often say. What does it matter as long as we're happy? But the animals themselves started to get worried. One evening, as the doctor dozed by the fire, they all gathered and began whispering. Tutu, the owl, who was a whiz at arithmetic, calculated that they only had enough money left for one more week, and that was with only one meal a day for each of them. Then Polynesia the parrot spoke up. "I think we all ought to do the housework ourselves," she said. "It's the least we can do. After all, it's because of us that the doctor is so lonely and poor now." And so they made a plan. Chi-Chi the monkey would handle the cooking and mending. The dog Jip would sweep the floors. The duck Dab-Dab would dust and make the beds. Tutu, the owl, would manage the accounts, and the pig Gub-Gub would take care of the garden. Polynesia, being the oldest and wisest, was appointed housekeeper and laundress. At first, it was really hard work for them, except for Chi-Chi, who had hands and could manage things like a person. But they all got used to their new jobs. They thought it was hilarious watching Jip sweep the floor with a rag tied to his tail. Soon, they got so good at it that the doctor said his house had never been so clean and tidy. This arrangement worked for a while, but the lack of money was a real problem. The animals decided to set up a little stall by the garden gate, selling radishes and roses to people passing by. But it still wasn't enough to pay all the bills. Still, the doctor refused to worry. When Polynesia told him the fishmonger wouldn't give them any more fish, he just said, "Never mind. As long as the hens lay eggs and the cow gives milk, we can have omelettes. And there are still plenty of vegetables in the garden. Don't fuss." He sighed. That was the trouble with Sarah, she would fuss. "I wonder how she's doing." But that year, the snow came much earlier than usual. The old lame horse worked hard, hauling in plenty of wood from the forest to keep the kitchen fire roaring. Now, many of the animals were truly, genuinely hungry, and for the first time, things started to look very bleak indeed in the little house at Puddleby-on-the-Marsh. What will happen to the doctor and his beloved animals? Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next part of the story. Thanks for watching.